Kwan Dae-jung ruled Mayfair with a silence that cost more than money. His restaurants didn't advertise. His clubs had no signs. His empire was a rumor that powerful men whispered to other powerful men over whiskey they couldn't afford to pour themselves. Tonight, inside SOBAN, his private dining sanctuary on Mount Street, 30 of London's most dangerous and most decorated sat waiting for him to speak. He didn't speak. He looked at the new chef. Her name, according to her work papers, was Amara Desta, Ethiopian-Canadian, 34 years old, trained at Le Cordon Bleu in Ottawa, 2 years at a Michelin-starred kitchen in Lyon, and for the past 11 months, quietly, invisibly, head of the cold kitchen at SOBAN. She stood at the pass, her white jacket unmarked, her hands folded behind her back. She had a stillness to her that made the room feel loud. Kwan studied her the way he studied everything, not with curiosity, but with calculation. He had not hired her, his kitchen director had. He had only ever seen her through the glass partition, plating with an economy of movement that unsettled him. Tonight, she had prepared the tasting menu for his father's birthday dinner. His father, Kwan Sung-bae, had flown in from Seoul, 71 years old, and still the kind of man who made bodyguards nervous. The first course arrived. Doenjang broth with injera croutons, a single slow-poached egg yolk, and shaved dried beef, the Ethiopian tirkish colliding with Korean ferment, deep and oceanic and impossibly tender. Sung-bae lifted his spoon. He did not eat immediately. He brought it to his nose. The table held its breath. He ate. He set the spoon down. He looked up at the woman at the pass. In Korean, not the clean, educated Seoul dialect his son used in boardrooms, but the older register, the coastal Gyeongnam tongue he had not spoken aloud in 30 years, he said, "This broth, it smells like a house I have not thought of in a very long time." Amara Desta looked at him, and in the same dialect, not a student's approximation, not a phrasebook imitation, but the living, breathing tongue of the southern coast, worn smooth as sea glass, she replied, "Then perhaps you should have thought of it sooner." The room didn't freeze, it shattered. Dae-jung was on his feet before he understood why. His chief of security, Lim, had his hand inside his jacket. 2 of his father's men were already moving toward the pass. Amara did not step back. She did not raise her hands. She simply watched Sung-bae, who had not moved at all, and whose expression had transformed from calculation into something no one at the table had seen before, something that looked terrifyingly like grief. "Sit down," Sung-bae said, still in the old dialect, still to no one in particular. Everyone sat. He beckoned to her. Not with authority, that wasn't what his hand said. His hand said something older. "Come here," the way you call a person you thought was gone. Dae-jung watched his father watch this woman cross the dining room. He had run empires. He had ordered things done that he would not name in daylight. He had never once seen his father's hand shake. It was shaking now. "Sit with me," Sung-bae said. "I cannot sit at your table," Amara replied in the dialect. "I am staff. It would embarrass your son." "My son," Sung-bae said, "has been embarrassed by greater things than a chef who speaks proper Korean." A murmur moved through the room. Dae-jung's jaw tightened. She sat. What happened next the witnesses would describe differently for years afterwards. Some said it was an hour, some said it was only minutes. What they agreed on was this. She and the old man talked in a language the room could not follow, in voices so low they were almost private, while the birthday dinner cooled in its perfect bowls, and the most powerful people in Mayfair sat very still and did not dare interrupt. Dae-jung understood perhaps 1 word in 5 of his father's dialect. He had grown up in London, schooled in the clean standard tongue, embarrassed as a teenager by the rough rural sound of his grandfather's speech. He had let the old language go the way you let go of a childhood smell, without noticing until one day it was simply absent. Now he sat at his own table, in his own restaurant, and listened to a woman he had barely registered as a human being speak the most intimate language of his blood. He was, for the first time in many years, afraid. After the dinner, after the guests had been escorted to their cars and his father had retired to the suite upstairs, Dae-jung went to the kitchen. It was empty except for her. She was breaking down her station with the focused, unhurried precision of someone who had cleaned up after worse nights than this. "How?" he said. She didn't turn around. "How what, Mr. Kwan?" "Don't do that. The dialect, where did you learn it?" She set down her cloth. She turned to face him. In the harsh kitchen light, without the drama of the dining room, he saw her properly for the first time. The tiredness in her eyes that wasn't from tonight. The way she held herself, not like a chef after a long service, but like a person who had been holding something heavy for a long time. "My grandmother taught me," she said, in English now. "Your grandmother?" She worked in Korea, 1971 to 1978, a mission hospital outside Busan. She learned the language of the women who came to her, the poor ones, who spoke only the old way. She brought it home with her in her mouth like a stone she couldn't spit out. Dae-jun was quiet. Then, what was her name? A pause so small it was almost nothing. "Tegiste," Amara said. Her name was Tegiste. He did not sleep that night. He put 2 of his people on her, discreetly, because he was a man who had learned that the most dangerous things in his world were always the things he thought he understood. By morning, he had a file. Amara Desta, born Addis Ababa, moved to Toronto at 7 with her mother Mekdes and her grandmother Tegiste Hail, father unknown, or rather, father not listed. Grandmother deceased 2019, mother deceased 2021, no siblings, no partner on record. Culinary school, then Lyon, then a string of A-list placements across 3 countries, each one lasting exactly long enough to become trusted, then a quiet departure. It was the pattern of the placements that made him still. Copenhagen, a Danish investor with silent Korean partners. She worked there 14 months before leaving 2 weeks before a financial irregularity was discovered and quietly buried. Singapore, a private club catering to regional finance. She left 3 months before one of its key members was arrested. And now London, now SOBAN, now his father's birthday dinner. He called Lim. "Find out what she wants. Don't touch her, don't threaten her, just find out. And if she's a contractor, then I want to know who sent her before anyone else does." He didn't tell his father. He didn't tell his father because some part of him, the part that had watched his father's hand shake, already suspected he wouldn't need to. His father's reaction had not been the reaction of a man encountering a stranger. It had been the reaction of a man encountering a mirror. He went back to the restaurant at noon. He waited until the kitchen was quiet, the other staff on break. He sat at the counter across from her station. She was making stock, the real kind, hours long, bones and water and patience. "Tegiste Hail," he said. My father knew that name. She stirred the pot. She did not look up. "I know he did. She didn't just work at the mission hospital, did she?" A long silence. The smell of bones and bay. "No," Amara said, "she didn't." And then slowly, in the old dialect, not as a weapon this time, but as an act of excavation, as if she were uncovering something she had buried in herself for safekeeping, she began to speak. Her grandmother had come to Korea as a nurse. She had met a man, not a doctor, not a missionary, but a local man, a fisherman from the coast who came to the hospital with a broken collarbone and left 3 months later with a reason to stay alive. His name was Park Sung-yun. He was 24 years old. Tegiste was 26. They were together for 2 years. They planned to leave Korea together. Her visa was ending, she was returning to Ethiopia, and he was going to follow. He had saved enough. He had told his family. His family intervened. Park Sung-yun's older brother, at that time building the network that would become the Kwan family's financial backbone, had decided that an African woman was an unacceptable complication. The fisherman was told to end it. He was told with the kind of clarity that left no room for negotiation. Tegiste left Korea alone. She was pregnant. She did not know this yet. The child was Mekdes, Amara's mother. Dae-jung sat very still. "Park Sung-yun," he said. "Your grandfather's brother," Amara said. "My grandmother's first love, the man your family took from her." She came back. She never came back. I came. The word landed between them like a stone into still water. He could have had her removed. He had the file, the pattern, enough to hand to someone who would make her simply stop existing. He didn't. He sat with the thing she had told him and let it be true for a while. That night he went to his father. Sung-bae was in the suite, awake despite the hour, sitting by the window with the lights of London spread out below him like a cold argument. He looked older than he had at dinner, as if the meal had cost him something. "You know who she is," Dae-jung said. His father didn't turn from the window. "I knew before the broth." "You knew and you let her cook for you?" "I wanted to see if she would." A pause. "I wanted to see what kind of person she had become." His father turned. In the low light he saw the thing he had glimpsed at the table. The grief, the long-carried weight of something that had never been set down. "Sung-yan told me about the woman before he was told to end it," Sung-bae said. "He told me she was extraordinary, that she laughed like it was a gift she kept giving away." He looked at his hands. "I was 21 years old, and I told our brother to handle it. I thought I was protecting the family." "What did your brother do?" "He gave Sung-yan money and a threat, and put the woman on a plane. And then he told Sung-yan that she had taken the money willingly, that she was glad to go." He paused. Sung-yan believed him. He was 24 and in love, and he believed him because the alternative was that the world was a cruelty he couldn't survive. "Is Sung-yan still alive?" A silence that answered. "He drank himself quiet by 40. He never had another family. He died in the house he grew up in." Sung-bae looked back at the window. "He died thinking she chose to leave." Dae-jung thought about Amara in the kitchen, the years of placements, each one circling closer, the patience of it, not the hot kind of revenge that consumed itself, but the cold architectural kind, designed not to destroy, but to be witnessed. "What does she want?" he asked. "Ask her," his father said. He found her the next morning at the restaurant, early before any other staff arrived. She was at the pass again. She had made coffee, Ethiopian, from a small clay pot she had brought from home, the ceremony condensed to 2 people in an empty room. She poured him a cup without being asked. He sat. "My father wants to meet with you officially, not as a guest, as, I don't know what word to use." "Family is the word," she said. "It's terrifying, and it's the right one." He looked at her. The tiredness was still there, but something beneath it had shifted, not gone, but redistributed, as if weight she had been carrying forward had moved to rest differently on her frame. Why this way? Years, all these years. Why not lawyers? Why not... Because lawyers would have given your family a document to sign and a number to agree to, and everyone would have gone home and nothing would have changed inside anyone. She held the small cup in both hands. "My grandmother didn't raise me in that language so I could use it to file a claim. She raised me in it so that when I finally stood in a room with the people who had unmade her life, I could make them feel the full weight of what they had taken. Not money, not property." She looked at him steadily. "A person. She loved a person, and he was taken from her, and he died alone thinking she had been bought." Dae-jung was quiet for a long time. "Did she die knowing the truth?" "I told her what I had found before she went, about your uncle, about what he told Sung-yan." Her voice was even, but her knuckles whitened on the cup. She cried, and then she said, in the dialect, the way she always said important things, she said, "Now the stone can rest at the bottom of the right river." He didn't speak for several minutes. The restaurant held the quiet the way old buildings do, as if it had practiced. Then he said, "I'd like to do something, if you'll allow it, something your grandmother should have had." She waited. "A record.
her name alongside his in our family record, not hidden, not a footnote. He paused. And I would like, if you're willing, for you to remain, not as staff, as yourself, as what you are. Which is what, exactly? The only person in this building, including me, who speaks my grandfather's language. He almost smiled. It was not a comfortable expression on his face, but it was real. And possibly the best cold kitchen in London. She looked at him for a long moment, reading him the way she read a dish, for what was genuinely there, not what was presented. Then she said, in the old dialect, low and certain, "Your grandfather would have liked the broth." "I know," Dae-jung said, in the dialect, badly, haltingly, but in the dialect. "I think he would have liked you." She set the coffee pot between them. Outside, the city went about its indifferent morning. Buses, rain just beginning, soft and gray on the Mount Street cobblestones, a florist arranging white dahlias in a bucket. Inside, they drank their coffee. The ghost had come in from the cold. She had not come to burn the house down. She had come to sit at the table that had always, in another version of the world, been hers, and to make them understand what it cost to have been kept from it. She didn't get revenge. She got something harder to build and longer to last. She got the truth spoken aloud in the right language by the people who needed to say it. And just like that, Amara Desta proved that the old words carry more than meaning. They carry the dead, the grieving, the children of choices no one survived cleanly. She didn't need a weapon. She already had the only one that mattered. She had her grandmother's tongue.